A 600% return on investment? From a public festival. Sounds almost too good to be true, doesn't it? Well, today on The Explainer, we're going to dig into the massive economic claims behind a major festival and see if the numbers actually add up.
Okay, so here's the number that's got everyone talking. 133.42 crore rupees. That's the total economic stimulus the Meghalaya government claimed its 2024 festivals generated. And get this, they only spent 23.5 crore of taxpayer money. You do the math, that's a nearly 600% return. On paper, it looks like a spectacular success.
The official line was even more amazing. The tourism minister said that for every single rupee spent on tickets, an extra 334 rupees was generated in the local economy, hotels, travel, shopping. It's pitched as this huge win for public investment. But is that the whole story? Let's, ask to see the receipts. Right, so a question of proof. The accountability gap. Look, when you're throwing around numbers that big, you've got to have the proof to back it up, right? And when you actually go looking for that proof, well, you find a pretty big gap.
And here's the problem. The official proof, the documents that would actually back up these numbers, they've never been made public. We're talking about the basics here, the really fundamental stuff you need for accountability. Audited statements, detailed ticket sales, reports from the vendors. Without that paper trail, these headline figures are, well, they're just claims. They're just numbers floating out there with nothing to verify them.
Okay, and this is where the story gets really interesting. Let's compare that giant 133 crore claim with the only number that's been officially confirmed in the assembly. And that number is just 1.44 crore in hotel tax revenue collected during the festival. That's a huge gap, right? It just begs the question, where in the world did the other 130 plus crore in their calculation come from? So let's deconstruct the numbers. We're going to follow the government's trail. And to solve this little mystery, we don't even have to guess. We can actually look at the government's own breakdown of how they got to that massive figure. So let's follow their trail. All right, so here is their math. They're counting money spent on hotels, on cabs, restaurants, flights, shopping, the whole shebang. Basically, they've added up all the private spending that happened around the festival, which, leads to the most critical question of all. Does the government actually collect all this money? And this is the definitional twist, the trick in the terminology. See, the key to this entire puzzle, the real secret behind that amazing 600% return, it all lies in a clever little bit of terminology. They're using two very, very different financial terms as if they mean exactly the same thing. Okay, so first up, there's economic activity. This is literally every rupee that changes hands during the event. It's the money you pay a hotel owner for your room, the fare you give a cab driver, the cash you spend at a local shop. Now, all of this is vital for the local economy, for sure, but, and this is the important part, most of it goes directly into the pockets of private business owners, not the state treasury. And then, on the other hand, you have government revenue. This is the only money that actually goes back to the government to help pay for its 23.5 crore investment. So you see the trick? The crucial point is, the government is claiming all the economic activity generated by private businesses as if it were their own revenue. Okay, so now that we know the trick, let's do the real math. Let's find out what the government actually earned. We're going to set that big economic stimulus number aside for a second and do the math that really matters for the taxpayer. Let's see what the government's actual financial position looks like. All right, let's walk through this step by step. First, the government spends 23.5 crore of taxpayer money. That's a negative. Then we add what they earned. And look, let's be generous here and accept their claimed 29.1 crore in ticket revenue. Then we add the only other confirmed government income, that 1.44 crore in hotel taxes. So you do the math, and that leaves the government with a net gain of around 7 crore rupees. So that incredible claimed 600% return on investment, it's actually closer to 11%. Now, don't get me wrong, an 11% return is still positive. It's a success, but it is nowhere near the spectacular, almost unbelievable success story that was presented to the public. So what's the bigger picture here? Why does this all matter to you? Well, this isn't just about one festival's accounting. It's really a lesson in how to be a more critical consumer of information, especially when it involves your money, public funds, and these big, flashy numbers. At the end of the day, This is about government accountability and your taxpayer money. When huge sums of public money are on the line, understanding the difference between real government returns and this broad economic activity is absolutely essential. That distinction is the key to transparency and holding officials accountable for how they spend your cash. So the real takeaway here is learning how to spot this economic impact illusion yourself, and not just with festivals, but with any large public project. When you hear terms like economic impact or stimulus, always ask yourself, who actually collected that money? Is the government just taking credit for sales that private businesses made? Asking these simple questions gives you the tools you need to assess these claims for yourself. So, we'll leave you with one final thought-provoking question. Just think about it. If an investment truly and reliably generated a 600% return, wouldn't you invest every single rupee you possibly could? I mean, if the government could really turn 23 crore into 133 crore, why not invest 100 crore and generate over 600 crore? The answer to that question? Well, it might just tell you everything you need to know about the real numbers.